All right, welcome to this week's version of Sheep Stuff You Should Know, a special kitchen edition. I'm Dan Macon in Auburn, Flying Mule Sheep Company.
Yeah, and I'm Ryan Mahoney, sitting here in my kitchen in Rio Vista, California, with Amy Livestock.
And you look like you're working on something pretty cool there. What are you doing?
Yeah, well, we are professional radio personalities now. So I thought it'd be a good opportunity to do a visual show today. So we're prepping up a couple. I got two Superior Farm rack of lambs are from our place, and I'm going to be slicing them into rack chops and making some delicious chops. Connor Daniel Mahoney's favorite meal tonight.
Awesome. Well, after we're done with this, I'm going to be taking some Flying Mule Sheep Company lamb and grinding it in our little meat grinder and making lamb burgers tonight on the barbecue. So
nice.
It'll be a
lamb night all the way around. That's good you can do it that way. Lamb burger in the store is pretty pricey right now.
Oh, I know it. And from a kind of a custom marketing standpoint, it's tough to get ground lamb done. So it's been a real treat to have this meat grinder and be able to do some of it ourselves.
Oh, I bet. I think last I saw it in Rayleigh's, it was $12 a pound.
Wow.
So yeah, it's pretty crazy.
I'd make you a deal on ours. That'd be $11.50 a
pound. That's awesome. Perfect. So I wanted to just jump in real quick, and I think this is a good opportunity to just I want to thank all of our listeners that have joined us this last, we're 20 episodes in, if you count the two interviews we did with Fred Groverman and Dick Amy. But just maybe if you could take a minute and explain why we started this podcast and what got us to here today and what kind of some of the goals of our journey are.
Yeah, and I hope you'll weigh in too. I think it's been a really fun journey that will continue. You know, I think we started this. I think you came to me with the idea of starting this clear back when all of this shelter in place, work at home stuff started in March, as just an idea to. You and I always have interesting conversations, and we've kind of felt like other people might enjoy those conversations and maybe get something from them and suggest things that we might be able to learn from as well. And I think it's been really fun for me just to have this kind of informal weekly conversation about topics that I'm really interested in and be able to pick your brain and share different perspectives on a whole variety of sheep and livestock issues. But what's been kind of your motivation and takeaway from this, Ryan?
Yeah, we started this here, just like you said, right at the beginning of COVID, and you know, same mission statement, so to say. It's to take those conversations that I felt blessed and fortunate to have with so many different people in that I deal with every day, and try to come up with a way to just record those and put those out there for other people in the industry to help start conversations. We've gone to, you and I have gone to conventions together for a long time, and so often as an industry we talk about how do we innovate, how do we, move the industry forward to the next level, and I really feel that it always starts on your ranch through small conversations and small contacts. And so I thought, I was really excited when I can't remember how. I think you mentioned something about a podcast in a joke, and then I took it seriously. And I think I'm really glad we were able to do this because it's helped me a lot. I also feel so fortunate that you kind of share the same attitude of me, is that we're not making money off of any of this. We're not doing this for any other reason, just to put it out, which is why the audio quality is shoddy sometimes. Some of the editing is pretty fun, and we got stock music in the beginning and the end with no professionally done intro. But I think that creates a real honest conversation, which is I think that's what I love to have, and I'm really excited to share it with you. So,
Well, and I think that you just said a really key point there to me, that it's honest conversation. And I think all of us in the livestock business, and in particular in the sheep business, need more of that. We need more honest conversation. Um, and we need more honest listening. I think that's the other piece that's been really rewarding for me, Ryan, is that I feel like we're both listening to perspectives other than our own, and I think that's really important for our industry.
yeah, it's that's that ability to listen honestly and not be afraid to have your opinions challenged.
Yep.
I so often when I get onto social media or get into any of the political world, so often you're forced into having positions and having your mind made up before you have a discussion.
Yep.
And I think it's so important if we're to grow as an industry that we have these open discussions and challenge each other, but challenge us through a point of, from a desire to make each other better, not a desire to prove one wrong.
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
And that's that's one of the reasons why I enjoy talking with you so much, and what an awesome opportunity to just record them and put them down. I've re-listened to a few episodes and keep gleaning more and more off of it, and it's pretty spectacular. So
me too. It's been, despite the poor production quality and the really shoddy editing that the producer does. I think it's been really, really, really valuable for me.
Yeah.
So
cool. Well, what's you want to get in the topic today, or you want to check in? How are you doing with the fires? Are you guys have any fires up by you guys?
So we had, I think the closest one to us right now is that fire up in Grass Valley. It's maybe 30 miles away, but we're getting lots of smoke and it's a small community. So, people that are evacuating or that are trying to move livestock out of harm's way and kind of keep an eye on what's going on. But it's that time of year. It's a scary time,
With your role at UC Extension, do you help a lot with do you help at all with logistics or helping people come up with ways when you get these fires coming through?
Yeah, a lot of what I do is trying to get people to prepare for this to happen, because it's going to happen to all of us at some point. But once it does hit, trying to walk that line between being helpful and not being in the way. And I think that's a challenge too. I think a lot of us that are action oriented or are oriented towards doing and being there in person. And sometimes the most you can do to help is to stay out of the way and be a supportive role behind the scenes. Give you an example of that. Talked to a rancher last night who was in the path of the fire and said, if you could call the irrigation district and have them send a slug of water down the ditch through this part of the county, it would really help us put more water out. And so that's something I can do without being in the way and working with the irrigation district to kind of make that a reality. So it's an interesting time to know where you can be most helpful, What are you making? What are you cooking tonight?
So today I got a nice rack of lamb, and it is actually an absolutely beautiful display of why American lamb is so nice. This is a rack I got out of Superior Farms through our, some of the lambs we raised, but that is just a beautiful. I mean, you can see the size of the loin eye there is just a phenomenal meat with some beautiful marbling. There was a 2-pack rack. And you can compare it kind of with the other one right next to it, and you can see the size difference from one to another. And it's just, that first one I sliced up is beautiful. But I take that 8-rib rack and I slice it down into little rib chops like this. And then I grill them like you would a steak, and they turn into little lamb lollipops. And that is my son's favorite meal on the planet.
I think my girls would be a toss up between rib chops like that. And believe it or not, they love riblets.
Really?
We eat the heck out of riblets.
I'll be darned.
Right? Slow cook them, and they're just that.
No,
In fact,
you slow cook them in a crock pot, or how do you?
my favorite way is to slow cook them on the barbecue. So I'll put them in a pan with a little liquid. I use like about a half a beer and a quarter cup of coffee as the liquid, and then just slow cook them in that until they're falling apart. And then I'll put barbecue sauce on them and put them over direct heat for about a half hour at the end of that process. Oh man, they're good.
That sounds fantastic.
I think we should have the Mahoney Macon lamb cook-off one of these
I'm
days.
all for it. I'm always up for a challenge, and I'm really good at cheating and submarining the other guy. Walk over there while you're cooking it and eat it halfway through, so the judges won't.
I've been known to do that too, so I don't know that you could get away with anything with me.
Yes, Connor. Oh, you found 2 dice. We can play Monopoly tonight. Hey, can you say hi to Mr. Dan Macon? Come over here. Say hello, Dan Macon.
Hey, Connor, how are you, man?
Good.
What are you having for dinner, Connor?
What are we eating for dinner tonight, you know?
Lamb chops.
Do you like lamb chops?
Yes.
Are they your favorite?
Yeah, I can eat 20 of them.
You're a good man.
You can eat 20 of them, huh? And then this is Emily, my daughter.
Emily, how are you tonight?
Sick.
She's not feeling too great.
Ah,
Too much sunshine.
Sick.
So,
She doesn't have the coronavirus.
what is your favorite? You said your daughter's favorite cuts. What is your favorite cut of lamb, Dan?
you know, I love loin chops and rack and all of that, but I have to tell you, I think lamb shanks cooked right
I
are
really
probably my favorite.
like
How about you, Ryan? What's your favorite?
I'll never turn down a lamb chop sitting in front of me. I'll
Yep.
always, but I really enjoy slow cooked lamb. And
I do too.
my favorite cut is actually a sliced lamb neck. Have you ever had that?
Why would you make
Yes, I have. Yep. What's your favorite way to have lamb neck? How do you like it best?
I like it slow cooked in like either a stew, so either like a kind of like a Guinness Irish stew type, or the other way I like to do it that I've been doing it recently is a kind of a. Have you ever heard of a lamb tangine?
Yes. Yes.
They look really
It's a Middle Eastern type, or it's a whatever you call it, North African.
North African, right?
Yeah, Moroccan, I think.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it has a lot of turmeric and some kind of real earthy spices, and you put some sweet potatoes and onions, and you slow cook all that, and man, that can really be good.
Oh, it needs to be-
I really like that. I also like making Scotch broth with lamb necks.
Yeah, how do you do the Scotch broth?
We use some kind of winter root vegetable like turnips or rutabagas or something like that, and whole barley and a lot of butter. Nice hat, man.
For all you listeners, you may want to go on the YouTube to watch this episode. It'll be a lot more entertaining.
Be a lot, very entertaining. Very entertaining.
Yeah.
So have you ever had the lamb neck at the Star Basque Restaurant in Elko?
I had the lamb neck at the Star Hotel in Elko, Nevada 3 weeks ago.
That's one of the 2 best restaurant lamb meals I've ever had, I think.
I agree. That's right up there. I had that, and then I had a Moroccan lamb dish at a restaurant in San Francisco back when
Oh,
restaurants
man.
were still open. That was really good. But yeah, that Star Hotel, they do a great job. They even their center loin chops, you get the garlic, sliced garlic on top.
Yep. That's what the girls had when we went there last time.
Yep.
So I got to eat some of that too.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
There's a, go ahead.
No, I was going to ask, when you go into a restaurant and you see lamb on the menu, do you ever feel obligated, like you have to?
Depends on who I'm with. You know, if I feel like I've got to be a lamb ambassador,
Yeah.
then I'll order the lamb. But I'm inclined to eat lamb anyway. I not a lot of lamb I won't eat, but there's a Mexican restaurant in the little town of Sierraville up north of Truckee that has lamb shanks on their menu.
Really?
And they're like in a mole sauce. I mean, they're as good as I've ever had. And I tried to tell the guy I'd give him a whole lamb if he'd give me the recipe. And he said, "I'll take the whole lamb, but you're not getting the recipe."
And that's up out of Truckee?
Yeah, so you go north on 89 into Sierra Valley.
Okay.
And that first little town, once you get into Sierra Valley, is called Sierraville. There's a Mexican restaurant kind of right on the corner there. I've actually gone there just to eat lamb and come home all the same night. It's so good. It's
That
worth
sounds
the trip.
fantastic.
Well, maybe a fishing trip and dinner at Los Dos Hermanos would be in order one of these days.
It's kind of distracting with these kids here.
It's great. It's great.
So there on your camera, you can see now those are all nice and seasoned up. Rosemary, balsamic vinegar, olive oil, ginger, onion, garlic, thyme, paprika, salt and pepper.
And you're gonna grill those?
And then I'll take those and I'll just put them right on the Weber grill.
So are you a charcoal man?
Yes, I like the charcoal, but I did get a Traeger last Christmas and it's really easy. So
Have you smoked any lamb?
No, not too much on the lamb. I've had some smoked lamb before and it's pretty good, but I'm not a good smoker.
Yeah, it's definitely a skill. Definitely a skill.
Yeah, I'm not patient enough to wait that long.
I know. I have to try that mix of seasoning, that with the balsamic on it and the ginger. That sounds really good.
Yeah, the balsamic and the ginger is fantastic. Fresh rosemary makes a big difference.
Yep.
But then the paprika mixed in really kind of brings it all together.
Have you ever cooked a whole lamb?
No, have you?
I have a couple of times. My partner Roger Ingram has been to Argentina.
Yeah.
And he brought home the technique of doing asado style cooking, whole lamb.
Yeah.
So instead of on a spit, we kind of splay them out flat over the heat. And it's just kind of salt, pepper, garlic, lemon juice. Oh my God, it's good.
Have you ever had pachamanca?
No, what's that?
Pachamanca is, it's a traditional Peruvian kind of a harvest festival.
Yeah.
That they have, and they do a whole lamb and they cook it underground in a pit with all these rocks and spices and things. And my goodness, it is absolutely unbelievable. You get a good fresh spring lamb, maybe 120-pound fat spring lamb.
Yeah.
You do that, the whole thing, and it is just it is a treat if you can ever get a hold of that.
Oh man, I'll bet that's amazing.
Yeah, it is pretty good. One of my guys gave me some this year. Yeah,
I read somewhere that lamb is the most consumed meat in the world. It's just us here in the U.S. that don't eat much of it, but it's such a versatile animal. You can raise it almost anywhere, can't you?
Yeah. I mean, it's every culture. First domesticated animal. I know in China, and one other real good lamb dish. I always forget about it because I had it one time, but I was at a Chinese restaurant in Chinatown, kind of off the beaten path, and they had this lamb stir fry dish that was just absolutely dynamite.
Oh man, in Chinatown in San Francisco?
Yep, right in Chinatown, yeah.
Oh man, I'll bet that was amazing.
Oh, it was fantastic, absolutely fantastic. So when you're cooking lamb, how do you cook it?
So I really like to barbecue lamb like you do. I'll do just about everything on the barbecue. I've even done shanks, smoked lamb shanks on my Weber. But I like to barbecue. I like barbecued leg of lamb. Um, we're going to do lamb burgers tonight. I also like to slow cook it. So if I'm not going to barbecue, I'd rather cook it in a crock pot or in a Dutch oven and slow cook it
Do you
all day
prefer
long.
one to the other? Crock pot versus oven?
Um, I like a Dutch oven if I have time to watch it. I think the nice thing about the crock pot is that you can get it ready in the morning, walk away from it, and come home at night, and it's ready to go.
I always tell my wife that the oven's on and I walk away from the Dutch oven, and then I blame her if something goes wrong.
I've tried that, but I'm married. I've been married 30 years now, so I've also acknowledged that was wrong for me to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I've gotten in trouble a couple times for that.
What do you prefer? Do you like the Dutch oven better?
Yeah, for slow cooking, I really like the Dutch oven. When you can take the shanks and brown them in the bottom of a cast iron Dutch oven skillet, and then you slow cook it in that brine, and it really, really adds a little flavor, I think.
I do too.
One of the best ways I made it actually was, one of the better times I cooked bacon in that morning, and then I browned them in the bacon grease of the cast iron skillet that I made. And man, it was really good. But then when I browned them, I always do like a flour, salt, paprika, kind of have spices in there, oregano.
Yep.
And so then when I took that seasoned cast iron skillet and the next time I made bacon, it was unreal because it had a little bit of fat and it had those spices in there, and man, did it make the bacon taste good.
Oh, I'll bet. I'll bet.
Yeah, that was a good multi-purpose dish there. But yeah, I like the Dutch oven. It's a lot of fun. I really like. I love cooking it on either like oak wood or briquettes, and if you can get one of those kind of Santa Maria style grills that go up and down, it's really nice to be able to cook lamb on that. We've done a couple cookouts for the ranch on those, and it's a lot of fun to do, and it's just delicious.
That's how we've done those asado lambs on one of those Santa Maria style barbecues, and using a little bit of oak and briquettes to it. Oh man, it's amazing.
How do you buy good lamb when you select lamb?
I was going to ask you that. Interesting to see what you think. I look for color. I look for brightness and color, and I look for marbling, depending on what I'm looking at.
And the color on the meat, what's that indicative of?
To me, that's a freshness issue, and lack of oxidation issue. If it's getting darker, sometimes it can be oxidation where it's maybe sat on the meat counter a day or two. It can also be indicative of the age of the animal. A brighter red, I think, can be a younger animal. But what do you look for, Ryan? What's your criteria?
What about on the color? What about the darker meat being pasture finished versus because in the beef side, the darker meat, if it's a choice, not a dark cutter, but if it's a darker meat, then oftentimes it's a grass finished product versus a grain finish. You're going to have more brighter color in the meat. Is the same apply to lamb, or?
I haven't noticed that with our lamb. We've done a little bit of both, and the color seems to be fairly similar. The fat color is a little different. I think our grass-fed lamb, the fat color is a little more creamy type of color as opposed to more bright white. But what do you notice? What do you observe?
I don't know. I just go by the standard rule that the bright, that bright red, it tends to be that kind of corn finish. But I always look more at the intermuscular marbling of the meat the best I can. It depends on what cut you're buying. But if you get a rack, you can kind of look on the side of the rack package, and you look at the big side, not the small side, and you look
Yep.
at the intermuscular marbling that you'll find in there, because you'll find some pretty lean ones and you'll find some really well marbled ones. And because lamb is so well marbled naturally, and they all grade Choice Plus, they don't market Choice Select Prime, Prime Plus, anything like that when it's in the shop, in the store. And so if you got 15 racks to choose from and you go through them, you can get yourself a pretty well marbled prime rack if you know what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Which of course results in more tender eating experience. If it's that nice, you want the nice thin grains. You don't want thick grains going through it. You want
Yep.
You want a nice big ribeye or a loin eye with a lot of thin little marbling.
A lot of nice flecks of that fat in there, not veins like you say. Yeah.
Yeah. So
What do you look for? What do you look for in a leg of lamb?
Oh, leg of lamb, I usually just buy wrapped in a pack and delivered it. I try to go for the discount because those are big chunks of meat.
Do you like bone in or boneless?
I like the boneless. It's
Yeah.
a little easier for me. I always take it. I usually butterfly it out and then cut it into smaller chunks and take all the fat off. I feel bad because whenever you buy a leg and you do that, you end up cutting, 20% of it off and throwing it in the trash or feeding it to the dogs because the scraps. But the meat is just really good in a leg. I got a recipe on leg that my mom gave me that she got from one of the old Anderson family ranches, and it's a overnight marinade with lemon and brown sugar and ginger and a bunch of stuff.
Wow.
Then
Yeah.
you reduce the marinade down into a gravy that you pour over it after you're done cooking it. Man, it's pretty good.
Man, I'll bet that's good. We might have to post that recipe if you're willing to share it. That might be
It's a secret, but you might be able to find it on my Instagram. Total secret.
How about sausage? Do you ever do any lamb sausage or try any lamb sausage?
Not really. I don't make any myself. You make some lamb sausage, don't you? Or you got your grinder.
Yeah, we're gonna make some here in a couple of weeks. And we had actually, when we were doing farmers markets, we actually had mutton sausage made, and it was really good. It was a great seller.
That's pretty cool. So I do have to admit though, so Superior Farms did these gyro sausages.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And the cool part is if you take it and you open it up, and if you look on the inside flap of that sausage pack,
I know that guy.
There's Ryan Mahoney.
I know that guy. It's like trading cards. You got your own trading cards, man.
Yeah, inside flap of a sausage pack.
So I might need an autograph on one of those one of these days.
I should sign. I should keep them for a few years. They'll be famous.
Do you have any rookie cards though?
Yeah, no, not yet. None in mint condition. They're all used.
Have you ever had any bad lamb?
Yeah, I've had bad lamb. Actually, one of the worst lamb meals I ever had was actually in a Morton Steakhouse in San Francisco. It was just really poorly cooked. Yeah, it was poorly cooked. It was really strong flavored, and it just wasn't well done. And I think when you start getting into food, you realize that so much of whether you like a meal or don't like a meal or an item is because of the way it was first presented to you when you ate it.
Yeah.
And just because you had a bad meal of lamb doesn't mean you don't like lamb. We talked today about, 40 different styles of cooking lamb, and every single one of those dishes have a different flavor and a different taste. And you might love a lamb tangine and hate a traditional Italian roast leg of lamb.
Right.
And
right.
There's nothing wrong with that. That's the beauty of lamb, is it's very versatile among so many cultures. But yeah, that was definitely a terrible meal that I had. It was just real strong flavored and like I said, poorly seasoned. There just wasn't a lot to it. So what about you?
I've had some bad lamb too. And I think part of our issue as an industry here in the US is the bad experience that people like my grandfather had with it, in the Second World War too.
Yeah, well, when you
have
take
that
all
long
your
time association.
You take all your emaciated coal ewes and grind them up and feed them to half your population. It's not going to end well.
And put them in a can first,
Yeah,
so that they're really
can them and
nasty.
age them out for 6 months to a year.
Yeah, and then cook them poorly in an
Yeah.
army camp. Yeah, that's probably not gonna play well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I've had some inconsistent and poorly prepared lamb too.
So when you run into somebody that says they don't like lamb, what do you serve them? How do you
Oh,
change them?
great question. Couple of examples for me. One of the things I like to serve them, I actually don't start with the rack or with loin chops.
Yeah.
I like to serve a leg of lamb that I barbecued, like I'd barbecue a tri-tip, maybe marinated and cooked just right, just still pink and juicy, but really tender. And actually, if I can serve that to them without telling them it's lamb, it almost always goes well. They almost always say,
Yeah.
"My God, that's the best beef I've ever had. What is it? What cut is it?" And then I can tell them it's leg of lamb, and usually they're hooked if they're not mad at me. But how about you? What do you serve? What do you serve when somebody tells you that?
So my favorite way to convert people is by sneaking it in on my kids' birthday parties. That's always the best. Mothers of children tend to be pretty opinionated in their foods, and anyway, I always try to cook lamb whenever they have a birthday party. Of course, we haven't had one for a year because of COVID.
Right.
But yeah, I like to try to do something there, but then I'll try to do something different. So lamb burgers is always a really good way to approach them. Oftentimes I'll cut my lamb burger 50-50 with beef.
Yep.
Or maybe 2/3 lamb, 1/3 beef, just because I think the lamb is so lean that it doesn't always hold together real well in a patty. And so I like to add a little beef so that way you can kind of hold it together, and it milds the flavor a little bit if there is a little off or strong lamb in there. But usually I got enough Worcestershire in there that it covers up anything. But so those little sliders are always a real good win over. The other ones that are pretty good is I'll take a leg of lamb and I'll cook it. And then the next day or 1 or 2 days later, after I cool it in the fridge, then you take it and you slice it super, super thin. And then I'll stir fry it with a bunch of peppers, like just bell peppers and things like that, and put a little Swiss cheese or some cheese on there, and you make like a what do you call it, like a French dip stir fry? Yeah,
like
sandwich.
a Philly cheesesteak with lamb.
Kinda, yeah. You make that and you just throw that meat out there, and man, they'll just hit it again and again and again, and think it's the best sliders they ever had in their life. And they ask, "What is lamb? What lamb? Oh, I don't like lamb."
That's we've had a girl on the Pasture high school soccer team now. Gosh, this will be like the 8th year, 9th year, maybe this year. And when our oldest daughter was a freshman, we volunteered to do their big fundraiser for the senior night game for soccer. So I think that year I did lamb sausage. And every year since, we've either done lamb burgers or lamb tacos as their fundraiser. And every year on the Boosters Club, there's somebody who'll say, "Well, that's okay, but lamb's not any good. I don't eat lamb." And every year we get them to try it. And every year they're converted. Primarily because their daughter will come and eat, 2 burgers or a half dozen tacos after the game and love them. And they'll say, "Mom, where can we get more of this?" So that's a good way to do it too, I think.
Yeah, those kind of big events like that where you can use peer pressure to get them to try it. that always works good.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think the point though is to cook it in a non-traditional way. When people think of lamb, they think of that, they think of that Italian seasoned roast leg of lamb in an oven. And there's so many other ways to prepare lamb that if you don't like that, try another way. So you get a lamb tangine or a lamb curry, and most people won't even be able to pick out that it's lamb. They'll just think it's the most tender beef they've ever had in their life, and then they realize it's lamb. Well,
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So what's the most unusual lamb dish you've had?
Oh man, you really want me to say?
Yeah, yeah. No one's gonna listen.
True, true. So last year at our wool growers convention up in Mendon, Nevada, we went to the JT Basque restaurant for the first night, and they prepared lamb fries for us, and they were amazing. But for the uninitiated who don't know what lamb fries are, they are what are removed to make a lamb into a wether lamb. And prepared correctly, they're really a delicacy. So that's probably the most unusual thing I've had. How about you?
Well, yeah, I can say the same. We buy lambs out of Nevada every year, and they have a big party. And at the party, they have a Basque lamb fry stew that they make,
Yep.
and it's just absolutely fantastic. I like to mix it with my beans to get a little more flavor into it.
Yep.
And
Yep.
hide but it's pretty. That's pretty good. I made my daughter try it when she was like 6, and she liked them. But they were really good. That's probably the most odd deal that I've ever had.
Yeah. Yeah.
One of the ones that's on my list though is I really want to try haggis someday.
I want to try haggis someday, and I'd like to try tongue someday. I've never had tongue, and I'd like to try. I like beef tongue.
Yeah.
I would like to try lamb tongue too. Yeah. So would you have to have haggis in Scotland? Would that be the way to do it?
I think so. I think you
Yeah.
gotta put the mountains next to you. That way you have the courage to try it.
Yep. Yep. I think that'd be fun. That'd be fun. Maybe
Yeah.
at some point, Sheep Stuff You Should Know could do a remote broadcast. from the
We
Scottish
need to go
Highlands.
international.
I think so.
Yeah.
That would be
So we got
cool.
one more question on it. What's your have you ever had your lamb in a restaurant?
I have. Have you?
Yes. I
What
did.
was that like? What was that experience like?
So one of my favorite Sacramento restaurants is a place called Mulvaney's.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they had a deal. They did he made some really unique dishes. I forgot. He did these buffalo sweetbreads that were really good. It was like a
Ooh.
buffalo flavored sweetbread, which are
Ooh.
the glands. And
Yeah.
it
I
was
love sweetbreads.
oh, they're delicious.
Oh,
But that's a unusual dish that I should have
yeah.
incorporated.
Yeah.
And then he did a roast heart and
Ooh.
lamb heart, and that was incredible meal.
Oh, I
But
bet.
aside from that, was a different time I went. The one time I was about my own lamb. So they have a deal. They call it family dinner, and they do it once a month, and they sell tickets. And anyway, you go and he cooks whatever he's going to cook, what's in season. And anyway, our lamb was featured one night, and so we got invited and were introduced as the growers of the lamb. And I found it hilarious that they were, everybody was all excited to see this, sweaty old poor dressed sheep farmer up there. But it was really cool though too to see the experience, and it's always so cool. It's one of the reasons why I love doing what we do is to be able to see it all the way through.
Yeah.
So when you
Yeah.
can see a really great chef take your product and make some amazing dish that feeds and nourishes so many people, it's pretty amazing. So,
It
how about
really
you?
is. It really is. I've had a similar experience. We sold lamb to a really good French restaurant here in Auburn that is no longer here, but friends of ours who have since gone back to France and have stayed in touch. I don't even remember I think it was some kind of shoulder that they bought from us. And we saved up enough money one night to go to dinner there, and they didn't know we were coming, but they sat us, and then they introduced us as the people that had raised the lamb that everybody else in the restaurant was having that night, because everybody else had ordered it unbeknownst to us, and we got a standing ovation from the restaurant.
Oh wow, that's cool.
Pretty cool. It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And that you described it better than I did, though. I think that's yeah, it is a business and it is a lot of hard work, but what we're doing is ultimately feeding people. And there's something really elemental and important about that, I think.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's an amazing service. Agriculture really is a service, and that when this COVID shutdown all hit, and they had essential workers, only essential workers could go to work, and you go look at that list, and basically at the top is food production,
Yeah.
and it
Yep.
really, it didn't really click that this truly is a civic duty to go out and raise the best you can and the most you can, so that way you can feed the world. I mean,
It's an awesome responsibility, really. It really is.
And I still can't get my mind around the fact that I can't remember what the percentage is, but it's less than 3% of the U.S. population feeds the entire nation and a huge percentage of the world.
In a good part of the world. Yep.
It's
Yep.
absolutely unbelievable what American agriculture does as a whole. And it's beautifully diverse. It's beautifully unique. But it really is amazing what American agriculture has been able to accomplish.
It is, and we've talked about this before. I think the other piece of that for me is kind of the miracle of the ruminant animal, that we can take the grass that grows here, the grass that grows down where you are, or the brush that grows in the Nevada desert, and convert that through the miracle of the digestive process of the sheep into something we can wear and something we can eat that is incredibly nutritious and sustainable. And when I stop and think about it, it truly is amazing to me.
Yeah, to me, it gets back to it's pure life.
Yeah.
When you strip life down to the basics, it's agriculture. It's growing things. It's growing things on a renewable basis year after year, and nourishing and growing everybody and everything around you. Continuing to produce more off of your resource, feed more off of your resource, nourish more. Your kids keep growing. I mean, it's life. It's such a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah, and we need more of that, gosh darn it. This COVID shutdown's taking that away from a lot of people. And it's really nice to be able to be in agriculture and be surrounded by that, and love to find ways to extend that to more people.
It is. Maybe an idea for future podcasts is for both of us to record kind of a day in the life of what we do.
Yeah.
I think that might be kind of fun.
Do that. Problem is everything I do every day changes.
Me too.
Today I work my tail off. Tomorrow I might sleep in.
Don't tape tomorrow. Don't tape tomorrow.
I can't tape tomorrow. You gotta convince everybody you work harder than you do.
Well, thank you. I'm hungry now.
Yeah, I appreciate the time, and this was a good, refreshing, kind of low-key chat. I really enjoyed it. So.
Yep, me too.
And big thank you to our listeners that have listened to. We're up over 3,000 listens now to our podcast since we started, which is pretty special to me. I'm impressed and amazed that that many people are sticking with us and listening. So thank you, everybody out there.
And how can people let us know if there's a topic they want us to talk about, Ryan?
Oh, they can message us on the Instagram. I am at California Sheep Rancher. And
I'm at Flying Mule.
And so they can reach us there, or they can leave a comment in the comment section on the Apple Podcasts. And
And next week we're going to talk with Dr. Tina Saitone from UC Davis about some of the processing issues that we've been dealing with in the industry here in the last.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk about that. She's an excellent resource and kind of comes from an outside of the industry approach a little bit, but still really well versed in livestock agriculture. And she's an economist, right?
Yeah, I'm really excited about that too. I'm going to learn a lot, I know.
I like talking to people that know more than me. So
I find those all the time. Not hard to find.
Yeah, it's pretty darn easy for me. So. All right, Dan. Well, you take her easy. Have a great evening. Buy
Have a
yourself some Brentwood sweet corn. It's in season and delicious.
I'm going to go get some, take pictures of your lamb chops when they're ready, and I'll send you pictures of lamb burgers.
Yes, sir. I'll throw it up. I'll flood the Instagram news feed there.
Sounds good.
All right. Take care, Dan. Good talking as always.
Likewise, tell your family thank you.
Will do. Bye-bye.
All right, bye.